It's late. I'm so tired. Unfortunately, you guys aren't getting a Star Wars Jedi Survivor video today. I've been playing it literally all day to try and finish up the story, and it just keeps going, like significantly longer than I thought. I thought it was ending at a point, and it just didn't. So, unfortunately, you're not getting one of those. But you are getting a rare Ryan talking about current events game or video because there's video game news, and I do love me some video game news, specifically about uh, Bethesda because they are one of my least favorite companies, and how now they have the back of the entirety of the Xbox on them, which is not a good thing. I don't think, especially with how everyone's been reacting to really like bad launches. Bethesda has literally never had a good launch. I don't think ever. Like they've had games that do well, but never a launch that goes well. Um, and this was this article, right? I thought this was super interesting. So, in 2023, digital sales accounted for most of the majority of the games sold, but this wasn't always the case. In fact, it didn't really start until the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 era of gaming. And according to Phil Spencer, who is like Xbox like head man, losing to Sony in that generation has put Xbox at a disadvantage, as owners of a given brand are unlikely to jump ship and leave behind all their digital purchases. As a result, Spencer doesn't even think Bethesda's upcoming Epic Scope RPG Starfield will get PS5 players to jump over to Xbox. So I do get what he's trying to say here, but he's also just wrong. Like this is just cap. Like maybe not one game specifically, but if Xbox actually made good exclusives, I think a lot of people would be willing to jump ship. Like quite a bit. I know almost all of my friends in good old high school and even middle school, they were all on Xbox. No one had a PlayStation. I was the kid with the PlayStation and nobody wanted to play with me because no one owned a PlayStation. Now it's like the opposite apparently. Everyone owns a PlayStation and no one owns an Xbox. But I think if you have good enough games, people will switch. Because, like, multiple people that I know in my family, I don't really have any friends other than one at this point, so I can't really consider them. But my family, many of them have swapped from Xbox to PS5. In fact, I swapped from Xbox to PS5 or PS4. I switched or PS3 actually. So we had the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and we used to play on the Xbox a whole lot. And I eventually, by the end of the lifespan of them, I started playing on the PS3, and I enjoyed that a lot more. So we bought a PS4, not an Xbox One. Best decision of my life. Like he said, this was an important like jumping off point. The classic PlayStation 4 era, because that's when you would start collecting your games, and they've now transferred over to the PS5. But also, I think there's a shitty argument. Like, there's a lot of people who switch from Xbox to PlayStation because of games like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us. A lot of just absolute bangers that are all PlayStation exclusive. But Xbox has literally, I don't think they've made a game like that in years. Halo Infinite was the last one I can remember, and everyone hates that game now. Like, it has a decent story, I think, from what I've heard. And the multiplayer was alright at launch, but it hasn't gotten like any updates and was super shitty the whole way through. So, the Xbox boss admitted that Microsoft lost the eighth generation console war, calling it the worst generation to lose. Um, pointed out that some onlookers have suggested that all Xbox needs to do is to win is build great games, and that will shift things. But Spencer claims that isn't true anymore. I think this is just complete bullshit. To be honest, I'm not a like obviously I'm not at the head of any of these companies, but I really do think that if you just made good games, people would switch to the different console if they are very good. Like hell, I hate Xbox. I hate their controllers. I hate pretty much everything they make. If Sony had an operating system, I would probably use that. But if they made some absolute bangers that are exclusive to Xbox, maybe I would consider switching over. But they don't do that. Right now their problem is the exclusives that they have are either absolute dog shit or they're on the PC as well, which is kind of still an Xbox win. But like, why? No, you don't. They shouldn't even make consoles, in my opinion, nowadays. If you're gonna try and like, why play? Why play? Does Xbox have a single good single player game on their entire console? I don't think they do. They all have, and I know their whole thing is like multiplayer. At least it's been multiplayer for a long time, for my whole life. But like, They literally don't have a single good multi or single player game that I can think of. The best one as of late was Deathloop, and I think that's one of the worst games like ever. It's a travesty that game. Well, okay, not worst games ever. I'm going a little overboard here because I'm tired, but one of the most mid games ever, and it won like game awards, like multiple awards for like game of the year and a bunch of other shit because literally nothing else came out that year that game came out. It was like two other games came out. Um, we're we're not in the business of out consoling Sony or out counseling Nintendo. There really isn't a great solution or a win for us. So he brought up Nintendo in this and Sony. So Sony is like the best example of this. Sony has very, very good first party games, very, very good like exclusives. The console itself is good. All of the games on it are good, and everything runs well. Like literally everything. And Nintendo is kind of the opposite. No games run well other than their first party Nintendo games that are exclusives. But those exclusives are bangers. Like some peak fucking video games. Like the Mario games, this is the Breath of the Wild. Those types of games are some of the best ever made, like in their genre. So that's what they're doing. Xbox for somehow has done neither. They don't make like really good first party games, and there's not really a reason to play games on Xbox like at all. Like PlayStation has the nice controller, the new one that's kind of crazy. And I know I'm probably sounding like a massive Xbox hater. I don't fucking care, to be honest. I have a PlayStation. I don't like Xbox, but I honestly don't care. This is just more interesting to me because I never thought I would see a day where Xbox... It seems like they're trying to step out of the console race, which is absurd. Like, it's like the beginning of them just saying, hey, we're not going to be making that many more consoles. Maybe I'm wrong, but that is kind of what it seems like. But the truth of the matter is when you're in third place in a console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are, and in certain cases have a discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will make being Xbox hard for us as a team. Our vision is everyone on console will have a great experience and feel like they're a first class citizen. I hate when he does this, to be honest. He does this all the time. I don't like Phil Spencer very much. A lot of people love him. He does this super often though, where he's like, well, we hate Nintendo and Sony, which, okay, fair enough. I also hate Nintendo. Sony, I honestly don't really care that much. They just make really good, like, like everything. They make good cameras, TVs, monitors, like literally everything. But I literally have never heard anything that Sony actually does. The only thing I do know that Sony did that was like bad was they were super against cross-platform until Fortnite, and then they like caved in kind of, and it's slowly gotten better. But like other than that, I can't think. And I guess maybe them buying up like a bunch of good studios, but also Xbox has done the exact same thing. If that's what they're talking about, they bought fucking Bethesda and are trying to buy fucking Blizzard, which are like the two biggest like gamer, like some of the most popular, I would say for a lot of people, game studios out of anyone. Those are probably two of the most popular, and they bought one of them and are trying to buy. Well, didn't I think it like failed actually, but we're trying to buy the other one. Spencer told the podcast that even if Bethesda's much hyped open world space RPG Starfield ends up being a critical hit, that won't likely shift things over in Xbox favor. So there's no world in which Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5. That's not going to happen. So I have multiple things to say about this. So first of all, Bethesda's much hyped open world RPG Starfield. I'm going to be completely honest. This looks like shit. It looks like every other Bethesda game where everything but the gameplay is good, which that's awful. That's like the one thing in games that people care about is the gameplay. Like if you want to tell a really cool story, fair enough. And to be honest, I've only seen trailers. I haven't seen that much. So maybe it is going to be really, really good. But the gameplay looked awful. Like it looked like 10 years behind. It looked like I was playing something from the PS4 generation, like early PS4, maybe even the late PS3. Like it looked pretty bad. To be fair, I think all Bethesda games look like that. That's just kind of their style. I'm a massive Bethesda hater. They're my second least favorite video game company. So to be honest, I'm not even going to try to say that I'm like rooting for this. I actually hope this fails, not because I hate Xbox, but because I hate Bethesda with a passion, to be honest. That's a hot take. Someone's going to kill me and take my scalp for that one. But it's true. I don't like Bethesda. I've tried Skyrim before, didn't get much into it, so that one I can't really speak on. Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 I have played. I didn't like either of them um, at all, really, to be honest. And I've never finished any of them, though, to be fair. I've literally never finished any Bethesda game, but that's just because I always try them and I'm like, holy shit, this sucks. Maybe it's because all their games are old. I guess to be fair, I know id Software's, I don't know if it's technically Bethesda, but I do like those. Those are good games. Um, and then the second thing I was gonna say is there's no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. So first of all, no one's gonna do that. Literally, no one is gonna sell their PS5. I don't know who, like, what you. I don't know why you think they would sell it. Maybe they'd buy an Xbox, but they're definitely not gonna sell their PS5 because there's too many good games on the PS5 for that to not happen. I've seen people saying that PlayStation doesn't have enough exclusives, and I just wanted to say that it's like absurd how many exclusives that PlayStation has. They don't have a bunch for PS5 to be fair, but they do have like quite a bit. So this list I think is outdated. It's only like 14 things, but they got a lot. Like Demon Souls, Ghost of Tsushima. Some of them are from last gen, but like Spider-Man Remastered, Last of Us Part 1, all of these actually like banger games. All God of War Ragnarok, all these absolute like peak Horizon Forbidden West. They're all only on PlayStation, so you're only going to find those there, which means, of course, you're going to keep your PS5. But then the third thing I was going to say is, it literally, I don't think if Starfield was an 11 out of 10, like one of the best games ever made, let's say, which I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like, here's my guess, actually. I think Starfield's going to get like 80s because people are scared to rate it any lower because it's Bethesda, but I think it'll actually be about a 60% for most of the game, my guess. Like I said, I'm a big Bethesda hater, so I'm preying on its downfall, so maybe I'll be wrong about that. But it would happen. If you made multiple good games, it probably, not selling their PS5, but they probably would buy, or at least consider buying an Xbox. Um, Now, I'm not entirely on board with this, as I think people buy new consoles to play great games. This guy's just like me. I also think Nintendo has shown, even if you release really underpowered consoles that don't support modern features, all it really matters is your game. True. Like, absolutely true. And it looks like this is the end of it. Oh, I'm on Kotaku? That's disgusting. But I just thought it was kind of wild that they're being this honest about, like, just not doing good. Because they, like, for a long time they've been like, we're doing stuff in the future, but Redfall seems to have like broken their hearts, broken their spirits, because they just literally are like, yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna catch up to PS5 and the Nintendo Switch, which is absurd because like I would have said before that I think Xbox was more popular for the young generation, at least the generation that I was in, and then they just flopped, I think. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm in an echo chamber, maybe. But it seems like nowadays it's the PlayStation. And I really think you probably could have convinced a lot of the people, like in my age group, if you were making good Xbox games, to keep buying Xboxes. But I think with how PlayStation has been doing and how this Xbox has been doing, it's a clear switch. And then also Nintendo is just always good. Like that's just literally, they always make good games. Not great consoles, but good games. Good handhelds though. That's about it. Later.